At Marketing Sherpa, we try to bring you case studies from all different industries to show you how you can learn from marketers in industries outside your own. Well, today we're going to go beyond the marketing industry and talk to someone in the medical industry to see what we can learn there. So hi, I'm Daniel Burstein, Director of Editorial Content at Marketing Sherpa. We're here at the MarketingSherpa Media Center at IRCE. And joining me now are Dr. Daniel Sclessinger, the President of Lovelyskin, Dr. Joel Schlesinger, the President of Lovelyskin, along with his son, Daniel Sclessinger, a software developer at Lovelyskin. So you're a father-son team with a medical background because you are a dermatologist and you are about to attend medical school, and you've taken that medical know-how and you're applying it to e-commerce. So give us some examples of something you perhaps learned in medical school or in the medical field and how you're applying that to e-commerce.
Well, I think that in medical school we learn to embrace our failures because it's really important as a learning tool to make sure that you learn from those mistakes. So they have a thing called morbidity and mortality where they look over every mistake or death that has occurred and they learn from it. So I think the first thing that you are impacted by in medical school is when you can't save somebody. And that's a tough learning lesson because I don't think that anybody really is prepared for that. But for example, my first patient that I couldn't save was a young girl that had a condition that nobody in the hospital was able to figure out. And what it turned out was that this girl had something that usually occurs in newborns, but she developed it when she was 8 years old. And because of that, nobody looked. Well, that was a flaw in the system, and they had to figure this out. Now, they learned from the mistake at that hospital, but later on, interestingly enough, they instituted testing so that every newborn is tested for it starting in 2005, so that this mistake will never happen to anyone again. The same sort of things we try to do when we see a failure.
Yeah, so that's a mistake. That's literally a life-changing mistake for that individual, but hopefully that saved many lives. So we don't have the same life and death situations, but Daniel, I'm sure on our websites, there's certain lessons we can learn about usability for our customers. Have you come across that?
Absolutely. There are so many little things about user interface and user design that we don't think about every thing that could happen down the chain when we're developing something, but you only discover when you actually become the user, you actually test it out for yourself. I think of this example where a few months ago we were searching for a product on the iPad and we go to our Lovelyskin search bar and couldn't hit return, so we actually clicked on the magnifying glass next to the search bar and realized that we hadn't made it clickable. So it was just one of these little things that we don't think of all the time, but actually play this huge part. We're not saving customers' lives, but I know at Lovelyskin we do hold ourselves to that standard.
Yeah, absolutely. With so many different devices, it's hard to keep track of that, and so it's important to live like your customer and see how they're experiencing your website. And another great place to do that is product development. So you are developing a product here. It's a healing body balm with hydrocortisone. And we were talking about how did you try to understand how your customer experienced this product and change the product so it would better serve the customer?
Right, so we have this concept in software engineering, which is design thinking. As developers, we know what kind of technologies we want to use, and we know all about the infrastructure. We could tell you anything about the database, but then when it gets down to the actual design, sometimes the usability just isn't there, like the search button. And when we were developing our Fix My Skin hydrocortisone balm, I knew from my dad's expertise in medicine, all the different ingredients we wanted to put into it and all the different things we wanted to avoid, the contraindications. But then after developing 53 different formulations, we went on this trip to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and it was in the upper 90s, and the product started melting in our pockets. So we said, oh my gosh, we've got to reformulate this. We've got to raise the melting point, and then we ended up with this great product that has this amazing balance of melting point, freezing point. It slips perfectly on your skin. And it was just one of those things. So we ended up with 54 different formulations before we got our
but the
final.
54th worked.
The 54th worked, and it got us 2 U.S. patents, and I think in the 50s range of patents all around the world actually. So it truly helped us.
Very nice. So you live in Omaha, so you weren't kind of thinking of that warmer weather. So that's a great thing. Even online, we have to think of, well, like you said, we may be just going to a computer and a desktop. How are people really wanting to use our websites, whatever devices they are, and how that changes? So one last thing, talking about devices, as we grow as companies, that's a great chance to probably do a morbidity analysis, because we're probably making a lot of mistakes along the way, right? So as you were growing as a company, is there any maybe mistakes you made that you had to look back and change what you did?
Plenty. So I think that in medical school you learn to have a form of risk-benefit analysis, and we always want to avoid, first and foremost, doing harm. So, for example, for the website, that translated to we didn't want to send out an order that was a fraudulent order. So in order to fix that, we could either keep from having any fraudulent orders, but that would mean that we would take customers who were actually good customers and keep them from getting their product because maybe they were using a different computer or something like that. So
and I also assume this is a bigger challenge internationally?
Oh my goodness, yes. International was one very strong point. You know, it might sound very silly, but you know, back in 2000, we had our very first order from Nigeria, and we, you know,
Prince.
oh my goodness, and I thought, oh, this is great. We have people in Nigeria that have found us. I mean, you know, it's laughable right now, but obviously it was a scam order, and so we learned our mistake, and we had a challenge in finding how the balance between what international orders are legit and which ones aren't. So we finally found a service that was a fraud detector that gives us a yes or no answer rather than a range of plus 100 to minus 100. And the best part about it is that they indemnify you, so that if, for example, they say that the order is a good order and it isn't a good order, they pay for that order. So it's nice because it takes the risk off of it.
Okay, great. So hey, we're all going to make mistakes as e-commerce marketers, but let's embrace them, see what we can learn from them, improve the website, improve the product, and improve our companies. Thank you, Joel and Daniel. And thank you for watching. You can get much more marketing tips and tactics and marketing case studies and industry data at MarketingSherpa.com.